Hello and welcome back to the channel. In this video, I'll be sharing my review and synopsis of Politics and Geopolitics, Decoding India's Neighborhood Challenge. This is a new release by Harsh V. Pant, and I'll be walking you through my perspective of the introduction. So in this video, I'll be sharing the key concepts which are discussed in the introduction. The chapter sets the tone for the book and gives us a brief insight on what's to come. As the title suggests, it's about India's role and relations with the neighboring countries. It would be ideal to understand the synopsis of the regions which are discussed in this context. We have South Asia and East Asia. So the South Asian countries are India, Bangladesh, Bhutan, Myanmar, Afghanistan, Sri Lanka, and Maldives. And the East Asian countries are China, Hong Kong, Taiwan, Korea, and Japan. So in this book, we'll mainly be discussing the South Asian countries plus China. So Hong Kong, Taiwan, Korea, and Japan are out of context. So obviously, Asia is controlled by two elephants or two strongholds, which are India and China, and their relations and influences determine and impact vital outcomes for the entire region as a whole. Each country has its own goals. For example, China's goal is to expand their influence across Asia, Europe, and Africa. And they want to expand their influence so that they can dominate in trade and transition from a manufacturing-based economy to a services and technology-based economy. And the driving force behind these goals is the Belt and Road Initiative, also known as OBOR, One Belt, One Road, or BRI, Belt and Road Initiative. Ultimately, the BRI aims to build connectivity across Asia, Africa, and Europe, with it being based in China, to build ultimate trade relations with all of these countries. So obviously, through this initiative, China is trying to dominate in trade. India's goals are aligned with the United States, which is to maintain freedom of navigation in the Indian Ocean region. They want to maintain this by opposing the Belt and Road Initiative and deepening relations with the neighboring countries to convince them to do the same. With BRI, China hopes to minimize freedom of navigation in strategic locations such as the Indian Ocean region. And India is trying its hardest to protect this geopolitical, geostrategic maritime region with its strong naval power and other diplomatic forces. So obviously the neighboring countries also have their own goals, which are to maneuver between the conflict and tensions between India and China and leverage it to maintain and preserve their self-existence. These countries are small, they have minimal financial resources, but the one asset that they do have is their strategic location. Obviously, they want to ensure freedom of navigation with return for financial assistance and infrastructural development. So, India is helping Afghanistan, especially during the nation rebuilding process after the war in 2001. India built Afghanistan's parliament. It provided them with high-protein fortified biscuits during the famine as a part of the World Food Program. It built several dams, particularly the Afghanistan-India Friendship Dam, and it also constructed power lines across the nation to ensure continuous supply of electricity to homes and offices. So India assisted greatly in infrastructural development. China also played its role in developing the neighboring countries. It built Seychelles Parliament to push forward its Belt and Road Initiative. And in terms of Afghanistan, China provided millions of dollars worth of financial aid and foreign aid. So to understand the situation in Southeast Asia and South Asia, we can look at this schematic representation. We have three main players, India, Pakistan, and China, and they're all conflicting over Indian Ocean region. So India wants to maintain freedom of navigation, and China wants to minimize this by building and progressing with their Belt and Road Initiative. During the process of freedom of navigation, countries are allowed to move their ships that are hoisting their sovereign flag across territorial waters of other countries without any interferences. For example, an Indian cargo ship can move across the Pacific Ocean, the Atlantic Ocean without any interferences because of the concept of freedom of navigation. It facilitates trade and enhances the economy, especially importing economy and exporting economy. So obviously, for all economic powerhouses, freedom of navigation is an absolute must, especially in a strategic location such as the IOR. You can see here that IOR is highly significant. It consists of the Arabian Sea, the Bay of Bengal, the Indian Ocean, the South China Sea, and East China Sea. And this region is what connects the Eastern Hemisphere to the Western Hemisphere. It's what connects Asia and Africa to North America. So through the Suez Canal and the Strait of Hormuz, we can go from India and China to UK. And through the South China Sea, we can enter the Pacific Ocean and trade with the United States. Similarly, the UK and US can use these same paths to enter India and China. And since all the countries in this region are heavily dependent on the United States and UK for trade, it's essential to maintain freedom of navigation. But through China's Belt and Road Initiative, it's trying to minimize this so that it can dominate in trade and provide goods and services to these smaller countries. So it's reducing America's role as the largest trade partner and trying to replace it with China. So coming back to our schematic representation, China is protruding into the Indian Ocean region, and it's expanding its influence through these programs, these expansionist programs, ultimately with the goal of rising as a maritime power and controlling the Indian Ocean region. This will negatively impact India's trade, it will impact our import and exports, and it could also have a significant impact on the trade of the United States. So it's essential for India to ensure that this BRI doesn't continue, which is why we're vehemently opposing it and convincing our neighbors to do so by deepening relations with them. And while it may not seem effective right now, we believe that there is opportunity to change this in the coming years. So that concludes part 1, the introduction. I hope you enjoyed and have a clear insight on what's going on in international relations right now. Part 2 will be coming out soon, which is comprehensively discussing India and Afghanistan relations from the Cold War to 2021. So Afghanistan and India are age-old partners with new age ties. And we'll be discussing that in the next video, which will be coming soon. Once again, thank you for watching, and I hope you had a great learning experience.